Now back to the impact on the coronavirus pandemic is having in Ohio. Governor Mike DeWine ordering the closings of all bars and restaurants in Ohio beginning at 9 o'clock tonight. The governor has ordered other restrictions and changes as well. Dorsena Drakeford joins us now with the update. Dorsena?
Well, Lena, that was the biggest message tonight about the bars and restaurants. Remember, only carry out and delivery will be allowed for the foreseeable future. The governor's office says it is what has to be done to save lives because the situation we're in, you heard him say, is life and death. Of course, school closings are also top of mind for parents and teachers, but Governor DeWine says prepare for the 3-week spring break to be extended. And he wants parents to prepare for daycare closures too, because those are coming soon. And as far as the service industry, people might start shifting their concern to how they're going to continue to go on without a consistent paycheck. Well, the state says they are doing what they have to do to move quickly.
And more details will come with time, but in making the announcement that many bars and restaurants will not be open, that means many employees will not have jobs. We didn't want to make that announcement without letting them know that you can go, and apply for unemployment and get it immediately. These things come together as fast as we can pull them together.
And tonight at 11, there are still other options to provide for your family, and we're going to explain that as well as how business owners are planning to cope with the closing. Lena?
All right, thanks so much, Dorsena.